Welcome to the beautiful market town of Clitheroe. We're standing outside one of the oldest pubs in the whole of this market town, known simply as the White Lion. Now, the White Lion has some amazing stories of ghosts, murders and downright cruelty. Let's pop inside and hear the whole stories of the White Lion. Well, here we are in the 21st century in one of Clitheroe's oldest public houses, the fabulous White Lion. If these beams could talk, they would tell you some amazing stories from the centuries. The White Lion has been used as a courthouse, but it was also the scene of a very, very, very unpleasant murder. We are going to turn the clock back now to 1823 and the story of a young lady called Janet Chamley. Janet's only crime in life was to be born with deformities. She was short in one leg, she had facial warts, she was blind in one eye, and she was 16 years old when she came here on a regular basis. Now, in those days, anyone could drink alcohol, and she'd come here for a glass of gin, but she did upset the landlord, Jonathan Briscoe, and Briscoe said, "Do not come back in here again." She came round the back of the building and was met by a farmer from the village of Waddington called John Halliday, and Halliday said, "Get out, you're not welcome in here, you've been told not to come in here." The following morning, Mrs. Briscoe was found dead upstairs without a mark in her body. She was only 41 years old. When Halliday got back to his farm in Waddington, he was horrified to find all his cattle were dead. Both Halliday and Briscoe blamed Janet Chamley. In the early hours of the morning, Janet was enticed to go upstairs. She was plied with drinks by both Briscoe and Halliday, but she had no idea she was going to enter what I can only describe as a kangaroo court. There, in the attic above our heads, Briscoe threw a rope over the beam. He made a noose at the end of the rope and attached the rope to the end of the beam, and also the noose around poor Janet's neck. She was hoisted from her feet. When her feet stopped twitching, they released the pressure and they rolled her body into a carpet. They then carried the body downstairs to a waiting horse and trap outside and galloped at great speed up to Waddington Fell. They spent the entire night digging a very, very deep grave for Janet Chamley. And they filled the grave in. They got back here to the White Lion just as the sun was rising. Of course, the people of Clitheroe said, "Where's Janet Chamley? She's just disappeared." You can imagine her mother was very, very concerned. 36 years later, the problem was finally solved. Briscoe was on his deathbed and he felt, "There's no way I can enter the gates of heaven unless I confess my sins here on earth." And he called for the priest. The priest arrived, he told the priest all about the murder. And let's be honest, it was murder. By the time the authorities came here to arrest John Briscoe, he had died, and you cannot hang a dead man. They say that the ghost of Janet Chamley still haunts the attic upstairs. On Christmas Day, Peter and Claire closed the public house down to celebrate Christmas. The building is empty apart from the two of them. In the early hours of the morning, they've heard laughing and giggling from the stairwells, and they've also heard footsteps coming from the attic it can only be the ghost of Janet Chamley, whose only crime in life was to be born with deformities and looked like a typical fairy tale Pendle witch.